you very much. I'm going to give quite a different talk from Jeff. I'm not going to mention any equations whatsoever. My background, I went to a local Bremer State High School where I happened to enjoy science, maths and science. My advice from the career advisors at the time was, do you want to be a medico? No. Do you want to be a lawyer? No. Well, why don't you be a teacher? So I went and came to university to be a high school maths and science teacher. But to do so, I had to get a scholarship. But I clearly wanted to keep my options open. So I took a Commonwealth scholarship rather than a teacher scholarship. The difference being that I got the same full living allowance, because my mother was a widow, but I wasn't bonded for 4 years. So I think things like keeping options open are very useful. I enrolled for, at the time, what was called a BSc Honours, which actually did honours courses all the way through. It's somewhat similar, I believe, to the current Bachelor of Advanced Science program that's available here. So I did nothing but mathematics from second year on. I decided then, well, maybe I won't go and be a high school teacher. I think I'll get a job instead. I got married then, and I got a job as a biometrician in the Department of Agriculture at the University of Queensland. I wanted my maths and stats, which I'd majored in, to be useful. I hadn't done a single biology course. I hadn't done anything to do with agriculture, but I was being employed for my statistical skills. I was working in another discipline. You can almost work in any discipline if you're a statistician. And I ended up working in agriculture, which was good because I liked experimental design and analysis of data. They were the two aspects that I was really enjoying. So I worked in this department, and it was a really interesting department. There were lots of people doing PhDs, and I thought to myself, I might do some part-time study. I came back and talked to the head of the Department of Mathematics at the time, Steve Lipton, and he said, oh, you've just got married, you've just started work, you don't really know what area you're in, maybe it's not wise to take on a PhD. Why don't you do a coursework master's? At that time, you could do a coursework master's in various projects. See what you like. Then if you work out what you like, probably you'll be more committed to a PhD. That was actually good advice. I think he was being condescending at the time, but it was still good advice. So I did some part-time study. I had 2 children along the way. I kept my full-time job, got my PhD after my Master of Literary Studies, which was my coursework master's. And I then thought, I've got all my degrees at the same university. If I want to do something else, why don't I think about working or having a postdoc somewhere else? So I applied for a Fulbright postdoc. I was successful in that, and went and spent a period at Cornell University in their Department of Plant Breeding and Biometry, because plant breeding was the area that I worked with in my department back here at UQ, and I worked with Walt Federer. That was where I got to meet John Tukey, because Walt and John were colleagues, and we went to the same conference, and so I got to meet him then. It was a fantastic experience having that Fulbright postdoc, because I got to work with some of the best statisticians in the world. In terms of a biometrician, it was Walt Federer at Cornell, and in terms of a general data analyst, it was John Tukey at Princeton University. So my experience of US universities has been Cornell and Princeton. Fantastic. I came back with enormous confidence that I can do this, which was, and I've got a network and colleagues that I worked with for the rest of their lives. Fantastic experience. I joined academia in '88. That, as a TNR academic, you do teaching, you do research, and you do service and engagement. They are the three activities that you're involved in. Teaching, I taught introductory, intermediate and advanced statistics, or biometrics as it's called in biology, to agriculture students, not to science students. You have to know the discipline in which you're working. You have to learn what's important for them and how you can show that understanding statistics is useful in their career, because they don't think it's going to be. As far as they're concerned, mathematics, why do I want to do anything about that? So it was a challenge, but you learn good skills. And you also had postgraduate students, and two of them you're going to talk to, or are going to talk to you today. I have been very fortunate and have had about 25 PhD graduates, and I've still got a couple of students, one of whom's here today. And I will mention those two books. I'm very proud of them. I only have two. One with Jeff and one with John. One thing I was very proud of as well was I was awarded the Australian Medal for Agricultural Science, and that was from Ag Institute Australia. Now, to me, being a statistician and getting a medal from a society based on another discipline was pretty special, because it showed to me that I had been successful in being able to work well and have intellectual input into the problems and solving the problems of the area I worked with, and that's particularly being plant breeding and quantitative genetics. So we had actually had quite big impact, and I'd come from another discipline, but I became immersed in this area. I had found my niche. It was at the intersection between applied statistics, quantitative genetics and plant breeding. And finding your niche is something that I think is important for people starting out. Work out where you fit. I was not going to be a theoretical statistician like Jeff. He was good at that. That wasn't my cup of tea. I liked the applied work. While working as an academic, I was elected to the UQ Senate. That is the body that determines the governance and the strategy for the University of Queensland. This was a fantastic experience. I very much enjoyed that experience, and I learned a lot about how universities run, what motivates them, how they get their funding, how all the different components go together, particularly at UQ, a comprehensive, research-intensive university. Every school or department wants things, but you're competing across the board, whether it be music, engineering, medicine, science, agriculture, law, business. The university has to service all those needs. From 2001, I became head of school. And again, for someone who had a statistics background, I was head of a school at that time called Land and Food Sciences. I subsequently became head of a school called Land, Crop and Food Sciences, and we were initially here, we were across campus with Gatton, there were lots of mergers and divorces and mergers, etc. And this was in the Faculty of Natural Resources, Agriculture and Vet Science. After those terms finished, I became president of the academic board. Very much an area that oversees the programs of the university. After that finished, I had a sabbatical, which was I only had 2 sabbaticals in my academic career, and this was one I was given. but I ended up coming back and working in the School of Maths and Physics, as it was then, as the interim director of the Centre for Applications in Natural Resource Mathematics, CARM. I was asked to fill that job when someone had left it until they got a new director, and it was because I had very good relations with people in the Department of Agriculture and Fisheries, because CARM does a lot of work in fisheries research. And they wanted someone who had that applied outside focus. And then just recently, I was asked to be head of the School of Biomedical Sciences for a period while they were going through change. So now I'm in the Faculty of Medicine. So I've managed to be in NRAS, science and medicine. But again, my view is that when you've got a statistical background, you've got lots of skills that you can use across different areas. Of course, when I talked earlier, I said there was teaching, research, service and engagement. Not only do you have service within your school, within the university, you have committees, you help run things, you advise, you have open days, you see students, you also are expected to be involved in your professional societies. The two societies I was most closely involved with were the Statistical Society of Australia, and I organised conferences for them. I became branch president, I organised national conferences, and I became president of SSAI, and providing service. But you're developing networks, you're developing collaborations. You get great support in that way. Not there. I also mentioned the International Biometric Society. We had an Australasian region of that. Again, I organised conferences, I became president of the Australasian region, I organised the International Biometric Conference in Cairns in 2004, and I became president of that. And I was very honoured to actually get life membership of both of those societies for the work that I put in. But I got just as much out of it as I put into it. You get out what you put in. You don't get paid for any of that. It's just part of your contribution. But it really means that I know statisticians all around the world, fantastic networks that you develop. What I had intended to do when I finished my term as president of the board was do a lot more as an independent, non-executive director. Because when I was on Senate, I realised that particular sort of job, you're on the board, you're a director, you're trying to make decisions in the best interest of that entity. As a head of school, I was offered to do the Australian Institute of Company Directors course, because it was felt that heads of schools should understand how to run an entity, because that is effectively an entity you're running. You have to understand strategy, you have to understand responsibility, etc., what you're doing. So I did that course, and subsequently I ended up being back on Senate again when I was president of the board as a non-executive, as an ex officio person. There are two ex officio people on the academic board. One is the Vice Chancellor, and the other one is the President of the board. Again, a fantastic experience. So, and since then I've been invited or elected to be on the board of the International Rice Research Institute, which is based in the Philippines, has programs in different parts of Asia and Africa. I'm Vice President of the Academy of Technology and Engineering, and I'm also Deputy Chair of the Ipswich Hospital Foundation, which is actually looking at raising money for the Ipswich and West Moreton Hospital and Health Services. So none of these pay you anything, but you are actually giving back in your engagement, and you're learning lots of community expectations about what goes on and what can be done. At the same time, of course, you've got to maintain your family relationships and keep that going. My husband and I have 2 children who now each have children of their own. We've enjoyed travel, camping, sport. My husband was a national basketball referee. I got involved in score table in supporting him. He's been involved in coming along to conferences that I've gone to. It's important that you have support, and you don't forget that in the end, family is what matters. You do your job, but when you leave in the end, bye-bye. So you can't forget that side. I was asked to talk about skills. I think the skills that were important in developing and enabling me to go in a very strange path were analytical and methodological approach. I know how to make data-based decisions, collect data, analyse data, interpret the data, make decisions from them. I have a very collaborative team ethos. You have to find your niche in a multidisciplinary space. All the big difficult problems in the world today are multidisciplinary. They involve lots of people working together. You have to provide intellectual input. You have to respect other people's intellectual input so that you come to a way of attacking the problem. And take advice from mentors. The attributes that I think people need as they go through their career. Be open to opportunities. When I first worked in agriculture, the postgraduate dentists, the orthodontists, used to come and learn statistics in the Department of Agriculture. So my first 6 papers were all with dentists. And sometimes when the university's collecting papers and they say, these can't be yours, Kaye, I say, yes, they are. Because that was the group I worked with, they were the ones I was helping. Gain skills and experience which may be useful. At one stage, my boss at the time was taking a study leave, and he said to me, do you want to teach my classes? I said, yes, please. They were skills that I thought I might find useful at some stage. Did I get paid for them? No. Did I even think about asking for them? No. They were things that actually I felt I would enjoy doing, and and I felt I was going to benefit by them. Don't ask for money for everything. Don't expect financial return. Have confidence that you can do the task at hand and work hard at doing it well. You have to put the work in. Reflections, lesson learned. Mentors are invaluable. Things don't always go the way you expect or hope. You'll have some disappointments. You'll learn to face those. Not everyone gets a prize. And sometimes alternative routes or options can be actually more rewarding. You end up somewhere you didn't plan to be, but that's fine. That's not a problem. My view is you be strategic. You learn some things. You try things. Prepare for opportunities that may come your way. Be principled. Have people know where you stand. People I work with know that I never say something that I don't believe is true. I won't tell them I can do something immediately if I can't. And if I tell you something, I'll tell the other person the same thing. It's too hard to play games. And if you're doing a task, be focused on it to make sure you get it done. Never regret your choices. You can't go back and say, oh, if I'd have made that different decision when I first came out of uni, maybe I'd be somewhere else. It's gone. Don't waste your time worrying about the decisions you made or the choices you made. You've made them. Go forward and, most importantly, enjoy what you do. If you don't enjoy it, then for goodness sake, walk away from it and do something else. Thank you.